Ride or die. Cold, these brothers my guys. Know that they fly. Know that they fly. Know that they ride or die. CJ Ike, they ain't no longer about. They ain't no longer about. They ain't no longer about. CJ Ike, they ain't no longer about. Know that they ride or die. Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my seat. Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my seat. Baby hustle, bust the night. Boys by my seat. Know that they ride or die.
Hello, cousin. I am Uncle Mike, your favorite YouTuber's favorite uncle. And to everybody, to Char of Heart, thumbs up because you are amazing. And welcome to this 6th episode of Unusual Attitude, a podcast format here on YouTube where I live stream and fly some airplanes on Microsoft Flight Simulator on the Xbox Series X. But then once we get up to cruise altitude, we just cruise on and we chat about anything. And tonight's conversation is going to be that I am back home after a 2-week road trip, which included a week at EAA AirVenture Oshkosh 2023, which is the world's largest air show. And so it was amazing. But I also learned a whole bunch when I was out there, really about the hobby here of Microsoft Flight Sim, my passion toward it, and some other things. But we'll talk about that when we get up to cruise altitude here tonight. But with that, click that like button if you do, subscribe if you haven't, comment, share, come join me in chat in a future live stream if you're not like Char of Heart, who's already in chat. And with that, let's go ahead and game on! So here we are at North Perry Airport in Florida. We're going to be flying over to Nassau in the Bahamas. And the reason being is because one of the pilot tubers, as I like to call them, the real world pilots who are also make YouTube videos. But I got to meet one of them, the fire pilot. He's a firefighter and a pilot, but not at the same time. That's what he likes to say. But I got to meet him. I got to meet some other pilot tubers while I was out there, took some selfies and all that kind of stuff. But when I was talking to the fire pilot, his name is Sean, and his wife Amanda, when I was talking to them, I was telling them I'm a big flight simulator. Yes, I have my POS license and aerospace engineering degree, blah, 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 and all that kind of good stuff. But then he was like, well, you ought to recreate the flight that I did from North Perry over to the Bahamas. And so that's what we are doing here tonight. So that is what you're seeing right here. We're also not flying the Cessna 310, which is the aircraft that the fire pilot owns. We are flying my amazing and my favorite airplane here in the sim, which is the Cessna Chancellor 414. So here we are sitting in the cockpit. Here's what she looks like, November 414 X-ray. And so, but just the favorite airplane here. It's just a good combination of modern avionics with the steam gauges and all of that. So really, really like it. It's got nice weather here to fly over to the Bahamas. Char of Heart, anybody else in chat and stuff, this here is your view. Look at that. Oh, look at that. You just sit in laps of luxury backwards looking out, because we'll obviously have plenty of views out the front here, which is where we're at. We're here at runway 10 left. So it's basically going to be a straight out departure. We're going to go out to a little waypoint here out over the Atlantic Ocean, make a right turn and head south down to Andros Island with a flyover of the Bimini Islands, and then make a left turn and start our descent into Nassau. So down there. So that is what we are doing. And so, yeah, we got this wing view here. You are right, chart of heart. And so with that, let's go ahead and let's get in the air. I've got everything pretty much set up and ready to go. Here, we're going to be climbing up to 7,500 feet. We're not going to go real high. So 7,500 feet here. But we are going to cruise on down to the Bahamas. So with that, let me just make sure landing lights were all on. We don't need any. Actually, we're going to take off with 1 notch of flaps. So it's a little bit of a shorter runway here. So we're going to go ahead and put 1 notch of flaps for takeoff. But everything is set up. We are ready to rock and roll. So brakes come off. Power's coming in. And full power. Engage those turbos. Turbos are engaged. Turbos! And here we go. Rocking and rolling down the runway here in North Perry, which is between Fort Lauderdale and Miami on the east coast of Florida. So everything's looking good. 80 knots both sides. Airspeed is alive. And 90 knots and rotate. And gears coming up. And we're going to go ahead and pitch now for blue line. And I'm going to go ahead. I have got the noise canceling headphones on, but let me go ahead and turn those off so that way you can then hear what's going on. There we go. As we climb out here, we got a pitch for blue line. Got a little slow there. Let's go ahead and bring the flaps up. Start pitching for blue line, where blue line is basically the speed at which we could actually still operate the airplane and climb and all that if we lose 1 engine, which is possible. All right, we're climbing up, passing through 500 feet here. I'm going to go ahead and start coming back on the power for climb power. Don't need to work those turbos too hard to get that engine really, really hot. I'm going to go ahead and come back on the prop here too. There we go. Just get a nice, easy climb going. I am flying it here on the Xbox controller. Go ahead and pitch that nose down. Still pitching for blue line. There we go. Now we got a nice stable climb out as we are now climbing out over the east coast of Florida. So here we are now. Keep those lights on for anti-collision. There's North Perry back there behind us as now we are climbing out over. Getting out over to the shore here and climbing out over the East Atlantic. Like I said, going to 7,500 feet. Here is the wing view. There we go. Everything is looking clean. Gear is up. A little bit of traffic passing right there off the right wing out the window. You can see it right there. That is amazing. All right. All right, passing through 2,000 feet. Everything is set up. We're on a nice stable climb here. Going to trim for 1,000 feet per minute. And autopilot's coming on. Going to go ahead and make sure that our altitude is armed. All right, let's go ahead and climb on up here now. 1,000 feet per minute. Looking good in the neighborhood. Yeah, this is one of the better airplanes in all of Microsoft Flight Sim. It is payware. It is the Chancellor 414. But it's just a good combination. I don't think we're going to have any weather right here as we climbing out. Cruise ship right off the nose. We'll check that out when we get over it. But it also has a weather radar. So let's go ahead and just see if we're going to have any radar or weather. So we'll go ahead and put on the weather radar there. And so here we are climbing out over the Atlantic Ocean, 1,000 feet per minute. Go ahead and pitch up just a little bit. And climb power, everything is looking good. We've got a little bit of offset here in our pitch. So I'm going to go ahead and get that all centered up. And so yeah, passing through 3,000, almost 3,500 feet. Going to 7,500. I'm going to go ahead and tell Otto, our German autopilot, to go ahead and fly the plane on our pre-programmed flight here. So I'm going ahead and put Otto, our German co-pilot, Go ahead and put him onto nav mode. Coming around the mountain. Yep. There we are. Look at that. Passing right over. What is that? Is that like Carnival Cruise Line? Or you think that's going to be... Ooh, I don't know if it's Carnival, Royal Caribbean. Because we are now just climbing out here. Got some ships off the coast down there. Yeah, got a nice little cruise ship right there. We're just leaving the coast of the United States. Miami down there. Go ahead and get back in the cockpit, make sure everything's looking good in the neighborhood. Passing through almost 4,500 feet. Everything is looking good here in our just nice climb mode. 7,500 feet is armed. Like I said, we're climbing out to a waypoint. The waypoint is LOCKO, Lima Oscar Charlie Kilo Oscar, which is just basically a straight out approach here out over the water. And like I said, then we'll do a right turn, heading south down over Bimini. So free guy, hello, thumbs up because you are amazing. Welcome to Unusual Attitude, my 6th episode here, which is my new podcast format here on YouTube, where yeah, we still fly airplanes on Microsoft Flight Simulator and the Xbox Series X, but so often they don't show what goes on when these pilot tubers make their videos on YouTube. They don't show what's going on up in the cockpit. So this is where we fly an airplane, we get up at cruise altitude, we let auto take over, and for the cruise portion, then we can sit, we can chat about whatever we want. And I am back from EAA AirVenture Oshkosh 2023, the world's largest air show up in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And so I will be talking about some of the things that I've learned, what I liked, and all that kind of stuff when we get up here to cruise. So we're passing through almost 5,700 feet here. The Chancellor, the Cessna Chancellor 414, my favorite airplane here in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 on the Xbox Series X. So let's go ahead and jump down here onto the instrument panel, and let's go ahead and back out. You can actually see where I'll zoom way out so you can actually kind of see the flight path a little bit better. There we are. You can see that we're coming up here on LOCKO. And I can come over here and I can go ahead and turn this dial, and so I can then see here. So we've got about, looks like about 5 minutes before we get to LOCKO, and so looking good in the neighborhood. This is kind of, this is kind of like this is the flight portion, if you want to call it. There we go, the flight portion where I like to fly. So basically the takeoff, climb up, I'm flying, doing some things. That little warning right there, just so you know, is telling that we got 1,000 feet to go. So we're passing through 6,600 feet going to 7,500 feet. So yeah, so this is kind of where I get to fly the plane, work the systems and all that. We'll do the same thing when we do descent to landing and all that kind of stuff. But then once we get up here, we'll go into, typically we go into then this view right here, when we go to activate the noise canceling in the headphones again. And then this is where we can then chat, look at the scenery, and talk about what are we going to talk about. But we're going to be talking about the voyaging that we did here, Aunt Cindy and I, up to Oshkosh and some of that trip. So that is kind of the debrief here for our trip this episode, the 6th episode of Unusual Attitudes. Let's go ahead and get back in the cockpit. Let's go ahead and see here. Let's go ahead and get, like I said, your view as we continue our climb out here over the eastern coast of Florida, and we're starting to level out now. So let's go ahead and jump back in here to the instruments, and let's go ahead and let the plane stabilize here at cruise, and then we'll start to work and get everything set that we want to get set for cruise power. So I'm going to go ahead and now it's kind of stabilized. I'm going to come back to 30 inches of manifold pressure, and I'm going to go ahead and come up to make sure we're at 2,300 RPMs for cruise. So just going to go ahead and kind of get everything set up here. There we go. We can check the fuel flow that we've got here, so I can actually come back, but we don't need to really set the mixture and all that kind of stuff for this flight. But if you really want to kind of get to study level flying, you can do that here in a lot of the aircraft, including this aircraft. But here we are cruising along. We can actually come over here And right now we've got a ground speed of 172 knots, true airspeed of 200 knots. So looking good. Let's go ahead and confirm that on the GPS over here so we can turn this dial one notch. So we're actually 196 knots over the ground, burning, turning and burning right here with a little bit of just 5 miles to go before we make that turn to the right and start heading south to Nassau. Actually, we head down to Andros Island first, and we'll pass right over the Bimini Islands. So that'll be pretty neat. We'll have to keep a lookout for any other scenery and stuff that we've got as we are heading down to here. So we're coming up here now. You can see we just got a little over a minute before Otto, our German co-pilot, should make that right turn here at LOCKO. So that is where we're at right there. So let's go ahead and there we go. You can see we're at LOCKO making that right turn, and then we'll head down toward Andros Island. So with our final destination at Nassau. And so I'll just go ahead and monitor the systems here, make sure Otto does that right turn here as we are now turning and burning. Here's we're coming up now on LOCKO. So we only got 30 seconds. I'm reading all this stuff right here. We got about 30 seconds to LOCKO. 200 knots. You can see right lower there it says 200 knots. So we got 1 mile to go for the waypoint. So that is what I'm looking at when I'm looking at things. So yeah, it's not a bad sky. It's a beautiful day to go head down to Nassau on this beautiful, just a beautiful, look at that. Look at that. Cessna Chancellor 414. There goes Otto making that right turn for us at the LOCKO waypoint. And so now look at that beautiful water that we're going to be flying over. So oh yeah, you can actually see Bimini out there. So here we are now. We are turning on and heading down to Andros Island. We'll pass over Bimini, over Andros, and then a left turn and a descent down into Nassau, Bahamas, just like the fire pilot did when I met him and his wife at Oshkosh. So that was really, really a lot of fun. That's why it's this. He's the inspiration in their flight, and their video. So, all right, everything is looking good. We got about 30 minutes here before we get to Andros Island. So again, I like to do about a 1 hour flights or something like that with about a 30-minute conversation. And so with that, let's go ahead now and let's go ahead and turn on the noise canceling headphones. There we go. Noise canceling headphones come on. Let's go ahead and go to our view here. And that way then we can actually now chat about what we want to chat about, which is really the part that is unusual attitude here. So a couple things. One thing you notice, I'm wearing sunglasses. No, this is not out of respect for Dr. Disrespect or anything like that. These are Flying Eyes sunglasses, which are very popular in the aviation community, in real life aviation community. And so at AirVenture here up in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, I had the opportunity to purchase some of these. They're not cheap by any means, but one of the things that's very interesting about them is they're made for pilots who wear headphones. Well, guess what? Us as gamers, we wear headphones. So one of the things that I actually talked to them about was, hey, I'm actually buying these because I wear headphones all the time when I'm playing games. These are not polarized, so it doesn't knock out any of the avionics in real life. And I'm not sure if it blocks out blue light. I didn't ask, but I could take a look at that. But they're not polarized, so again, they don't block out in real life avionics, and therefore they don't block out anything here that we have gamers. They're actually still very crisp. So I really can see most of the things. Some of the other sunglasses that I have worn here on Livestream, like my, I think these are blenders or something like that, or Shady Rays aviators. You know, they're fairly dark, and so it's kind of hard to see. But this is nice and crisp. So it's really, they're made for aviators, which really work out because they are super thin and super light, and I really can't even feel anything pressing on my ears or behind my ears or anything like that because of these glasses. So Flying Ice, I'm watching you. They're amazing. So, and this is really the first time I've worn them ball gaming since we just got back from our 2-week trip. So that's one of the cool things. I've already mentioned the Fire Pilot, and the Fire Pilot was one of the pilot tubers that I talked to when we was there, and so I have a link to his channel down in the description already for this live stream of Unusual Attitude. I've also got a link to Flying Eyes if you're just interested in looking, but I'll go ahead and tell you, these are basically, with a discount, these are $200 sunglasses. $200 sunglasses. So, and yeah, but they, I mean, like I said, in the aviation community, they're really kind of the gold standard of sunglasses, at least in popularity. But of course, they wouldn't be popular if they sucked. So, you know, so, but yeah, and I wore them for the second half of the trip after I bought them. So they really worked out in the real world too. I got to meet some other pilot tubers when I was there, which was a lot of fun, like Jimmy's World, Mike Patey, a lot of big names, if you want to call it, in the pilot tuber community. And again, I have a lot of their links down in the description already below. Also, there was a lot of drama and some dying at EAA AirVenture 2023. The first thing that we had happen was actually on I think it was a Saturday, south of the airport. We had a small airplane lose an engine. They successfully landed in a field because the field was fairly remote and kind of out in the marshy, swampy area. It took first responders quite a while to get to them. Everybody was okay. The pilot had a little bit of a shoulder injury was reported. So that was 2 thumbs up for rock and roll. And then Mike Patey, who again a big pilot tuber, a link in the description below. He was flying his airplane is the world's fastest prop-driven single-engine airplane, I think, in the world. And while they were flying at like 27,000 feet, they're up on oxygen. It's a turboprop. Literally had a catastrophic failure of the turbine, blew a hole in the turbine casing, put oil onto the windshield, debris hit the leading edge of the tail and all of this. They made an emergency landing in La Crosse, Wisconsin. And he's already got a video all up about it, and that video is linked in the description below. And it is amazing video to watch. And so then during all the landings, when the show really started on a Monday, then we had a seaplane whose gear collapsed. So that was interesting. It looked like we had another airplane that probably had a flat tire, a blown tire on landing. And then going back into the sim here, what you're seeing, the islands right here below us, this is Bimini Island. So if you ever hear about like the fast boaters and all that leaving Miami and going to Bimini Islands, these are the Bimini Islands right here. Yes, they have a airport in case we need it, in case something happens to us, but I think everything is going to be golden for our flight here. And then it was a really bad ending weekend for EAA AirVenture Oshkosh 2023, because on the same day, on Saturday, we had a AT-6 Texan, a World War II trainer, a warbird, that then looks like it was a stall spin into Lake Winnebago. Yes, Winnebago, Lake Winnebago, which Oshkosh is on. And that was 2 fatalities. Looks like they stall spun from about 3,000 feet. The ADS-B data shows almost a 10,000 feet per minute. That's 2 miles a minute. So that's 120 miles an hour right into the water. And so they did not survive that. That happened on Saturday. So two dead there. And then, yeah, that's where we pick up our drugs, Char of Heart. That's where we pick up our drugs. You know what I mean, huh? Drugs, yeah. Okay. And so yeah, and then also on Saturday over at the ultralight field area, which had a lot of activity from small helicopters to gyrocopters to ultralights to the short takeoff and land airplanes and all that. But a small helicopter and a gyrocopter collided, and there were 2 people on each aircraft, and 2 out of the 4 died in that midair collision. The wreckage of it fell actually onto a parked airplane, so but there was nobody around on the ground that was injured or hurt or anything like that. So it wasn't the best of ending weekends for EAA, AirVenture Oshkosh 2023. It was pretty tragic end to it. It's unfortunate. Our experience, this was our first, is actually my second, because when I was 3 years old in 1974, Dad and our Aviation range master actually flew in, so we did the whole landing there, camping at the airplane, all that kind of stuff. But I don't remember that. But so I say this is really my first time experiencing EAA AirVenture Oshkosh 2023. You can click on the hashtag Osh23 like in my videos or something like that if you want to see, because there's just YouTube obviously is flooded with the people who are in the aviation community posting their videos, about Oshkosh. But our experience, our first experience, and I will be honest with you, probably our only experience of Oshkosh, and it was a lot of fun, because we're voyagers, we're adventurers, we like to explore, we like to camp, we like to travel, and all that kind of stuff. But it's like the Woodstock of aviation, right? It's like the Burning Man of aviation. So there were 75,000 camping vehicles there, like campers, not people, but the equipment, right? 75,000. There's then 600,000 people visit over the week. I don't know how many thousands and thousands of airplanes fly in and people camp underneath them, under their wings. And so it's amazing, but it's overwhelming. It's huge. I've seen a lot of airplanes in my life. I like airplanes, but now pretty much in my life, they're really kind of becoming artwork. They don't have a lot of margin of utility for me. So why would I want to own an airplane? Really kind of why would I want to fly in real life again and get current? Because what's the utility? What's the value in it? Yeah, there's obviously a lot of these people get value of just the enjoyment of flying. But I like to go places. I like to experience new things and new places. So it wasn't like this, oh my God, this is just absolutely amazing, I got to come back every year, I got to participate, I got to volunteer, I got to do all this stuff. It didn't do that for me. However, I do need to tell you this. So when we were on the way up, so the first week of the trip was travel up there, and we stopped in Dayton, Ohio to see a lot of the Wright brothers stuff, and also see the National Museum of the United States Air Force. And there was a plane there that I wanted to see, the XB-70 Valkyrie. I got to see it. Yeah, bucket list checked. And it's amazing aircraft. So I got to see that. But again, it's still kind of like artwork. And the difference between the museum and Oshkosh is Oshkosh is alive. Meaning, typically, there's going to be a plane and you're going to be like, oh my God, that plane is amazing. And then there's the pilot, there's the owner, and you can actually talk to them and get the details of it and hear a lot of their stories. So it's almost like a living event, right? Like living history, those living history museums. Where the Air Force Museum was a static, right, museum, right? It's like a typical museum. So got to say real quick, the water that we're flying over is amazing. And so that was really neat at Oshkosh. One of the highlights of Oshkosh for me was a fellow camper that was right next door to us that had a huge coach Class A RV. He and I usually drank every night Yeah, excuse me. We would drink every night, drink some Manhattans, and talk shop, and that was a lot of fun. Just because, again, it's like living history, right? And so that is a cool thing. So I would say if you're into aviation, whether you're a flight simmer or into real life aviation, if you are just an aviation enthusiast, I would consider going to Oshkosh at least once, so you can say you've been there and you can experience it for yourself. I did flight simming stuff when we were there. I went to the Redbird booth, which does, real FAA certified flight sims. I have to say, I like the entertainment value, the gaming / entertainment value of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Maybe later in my life, I might actually think about becoming a FAA certified ground instructor, because I like teaching people. And maybe even get a simulator, maybe at the house, office, whatever you want to call it. Maybe set up my little ground school, business or something like that, where I have an FAA certified flight simulator. But for me right now, personally, there wasn't really anything at the show, as we call it, at the show, that really kind of pulled me out into either in real life aviation or expanding my flight simming. So, like right now, I fly on a controller and a keyboard. That's what I've got. So I can control, I use the keyboard so I can control some of the avionics. But I did all this stuff. I tried all these, throttle quadrants and all this, and I got excited about it. Then I was like, you know what? Do I really need all this stuff right now? Do I really need to do that? And so the answer was no. I'm really content on, what my experiences here with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 here on the Xbox Series X. So yeah, I don't, again, no real epiphany or anything like that, or really, big aha moment when we were up here at Oshkosh. But there were some things that kind of were reinforced when I was up there. Again, one of the things that was reinforced was live streaming, was flying Flight Simulator. I fly Flight Simulator just about every day, just for fun. Usually I set the weather to really, really crappy, and I do instrument approaches because it's a little bit more of a challenge, or I fly general aviation, and I'm really, as I like to call it, stick and trigger, where I'm just in the pattern. You can actually see some of my YouTube shorts where I do that, where I like to fly in the pattern or just do landings and that type of stuff. And so so it did reinforce that I like flight simming. It's a good thing in my life right now, and so I'm content with what I've got right now. Another thing that Oshkosh did, because we camped there. We camped there for a week, for just over a week, in our little Voyager, our little new camp teardrop camper. And if you can go and you can see, photos and videos that include Voyager down on my YouTube channel. And for the first time, we had to camp. We didn't have water or electricity at the campsite, so it's just a open field, and you have your little space and all that kind of stuff. They got porta potties and all that for you, so that's like 2 thumbs up for rock and roll. But we had a generator that we could run during the day. Because of all the tent campers, they don't want all the fumes and all that, so you couldn't run your generator at night. But the temperatures were okay up there. It was actually the hottest Oshkosh in recent times, so it was miserable on a couple days. But it was an excellent test for us in our travels and our camping with Voyager, our little teardrop, being on the generator so often, having our little solar battery packs and all that kind of stuff that we had. So that was the first time that we had ever done any camping like that. And so that right there was an amazing experience and an amazing experiment that we could test ourselves and all of our equipment. So now with our generator that we had already, with our, like I said, our Jackery battery packs that can be recharged by solar or off the generator or whatever, we can actually kind of now camp off grid, because we just take the grid with us. And so that was really neat to experience and have that and say we can do it and all that. I gotta go jump back in the sim here, take a look at underneath here of our Cessna 414, chance the reflection of the water up onto the belly of the aircraft. That beautiful Bahama blue water. That right there is amazing. So another thing, so I will actually start to redo my YouTube channel a little bit, is gonna get back into doing travel videos, which I played around with a couple years ago when we first got Voyager. But I really like the YouTube shorts. I like live streaming. This is like my long format, and then I like making the YouTube shorts format. And so I will start to make YouTube shorts for our travel and our camping, or our Voyager, as I like to call them, Voyager missions. So I've already started to redo my YouTube channel. Still have all the Microsoft Flight Simulator shorts and all that kind of stuff on there, but I've made a new playlist, and I put old shorts into there from our travels and our camping when we were in Voyager and all that, so you can go down and take a look at that. And then I will also be doing something, because this was another thing that I learned on this trip, is, well, so back in 2019, January of 2019, when I actually made my YouTube channel, it was a weight loss journey. That's why I originally made my YouTube channel. And I lost like 90 pounds, and of course I've gained 70 of that back over the last 3.5, 4 years. So one of the things that the trip to EAA Oshkosh and the road trip and all that really said to me again, and reinforces that I need to go back and I need to think about behavioral changes and lifestyle changes for the long haul, which will basically, yes, include weight loss. So it's not just a weight loss thing. It's really changing my behavior of eating and all that kind of stuff. So I will also be making weekly little weight loss shorts. So my YouTube channel will have, right now we'll have, from this trip, we'll have 4 major playlists that show up, which will be this playlist, which is the Unusual Attitude podcast, where we'll talk about anything. We'll get into maybe current events and politics or whatever it might be in the future, not just aviation and travel and all that. But Unusual Attitude will be one playlist. The Microsoft Flight Simulator shorts will be another playlist. Then the travel shorts playlist. And then finally, I will also be making probably this weekend, my first YouTube shorts about weight loss, where I will put my weight on there of how I am doing, so it's public and it's visible. That way it's a reinforcement to me. But that will be another playlist that I put on there. So yeah, there's a lot of a lot of behavioral things you have to really fight through. And so, going to EAA, it was very interesting to me going to EAA AirVenture Oshkosh 2023, this road trip that we just did over, a little over 2 weeks. It was very interesting because I learned more about and reinforced of my, enjoyment of travel and camping and flight simming, not in real life airplanes. And so then with the weight loss thing, So and being, you're right, being older and all this kind of stuff, it's just, it's going to be tough, but I think I'm going to try some things. Like I said, we'll look at the data as I lose or don't lose, weight, and as I get healthier, and I'll do I'll get with my doc and do a physical, so we actually have the medical data to see what's going on with my body and all that kind of stuff, like I did back in 2019 when I created my YouTube channel. So, well, you can see, jumping back in the sim here, you can see that we are coming up here onto Andros Island with Nassau off to the left, but basically filling up the whole screen is the larger Andros Island. We're going to fly right over Andros Airport. Is going to be our waypoint, where Otto will make that turn to the left and head toward Nassau for almost our straight approach into runway 10 into Nassau. So, but we did some other things. I mean, so again, the second half of the Voyager mission was Oshkosh, But the first half was, well, one, getting up there. And like I said, we went to Dayton, Ohio, checked out the Wright Brothers stuff, went to the Air Force Museum. But then some of the other stuff that we did was we stopped at Rantoul Air Force Base, which was decommissioned in 1994. It was a B-52 bomber base and so on when my dad was there. And that's where I was born, at the base hospital at Chanute Air Force Base in Rantoul, Illinois, which is now like a ghost town. So it was very surreal experience. The base hospital I was born is an abandoned, so it's basically like modern ruins, right? Urban ruins, if you can call out in the middle of a... What's your birthplace? Rantoul? Illinois? Sorry, oh, Illinois, okay. I was like, oh my God, you're born in Rantoul, that's amazing. But yeah, as we like to call it, because we get a little funny, you know, when you drive so much, which I like driving, but when you drive a lot in a day, we call it Illinois. Illinois. So that's cool. That right there is amazing. And so we did that. We actually stopped at a little, I made some YouTube shorts about this. We actually stopped at Frasca Airport, north of, or actually south of Rantoul, where Frasca flight simulators are made. And they had one at the FBO at the little airport, so I got to fly that. And again, there's YouTube shorts here on my channel of me doing that. And so that was a lot of fun. We knew we were going to go to the airport, but then I didn't know they were going to have a simulator actually there that I could fly, and so that was a lot of fun. Then on the way up, we actually bypassed Oshkosh and went over to St. Paul, Minnesota, because that's where I spent my toddler years growing up, was in St. Paul. So we went and then saw the house where I spent from 1974 to 1980 before we moved to the Gulf Coast of Texas. And so that was a lot of fun, because now Aunt Cindy gets to, when she hears the story, she can actually put a mental picture. I remembered some of the house. It was really nice to be able to see it. We talked to the current owners. They let us in. We got to look around and see pictures and see the house as it is now. And I told them stories about me as a child, growing up and living in the house. And so yeah, that was a lot of fun. Clearly, I didn't remember anything about Rantoul or the Air Force Base, but we were able to take, you know, the whole rig, so the command module and Voyager, both together out, and took some pictures out in front of some of the old B-52 hangars that were still there at Rantoul Air Force Base. Again, it is now shut down. So, but yeah, so yeah, it was a good trip. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't really in the near future need to do it again. Would I like to see some of the people that I met out there? Absolutely, because the people that I met out there were amazing. Oh, one of the ones that I actually need to put a description and put a link. So one of the fun stories was, we had a gal that was also camping in our area, and I was talking to her one night along with D, another pilot, sitting there. So the three of us are talking, and she starts talking about, because we had the airplane lost the engine and go down in the marsh, and so we're talking about that. And then she starts talking about, in a Piper J4, she had partial power loss and had to land it in a farmer's field. And I'm looking at her going, wait a minute, that's you? I've seen your video of that. And so she has the video of her. It was almost like a test flight of the plane, lost, like I said, half the power. And you can see she's just, you know, she still has the engine, but it's not producing as much power that it should be. And so, yeah, she lands it in this farmer's field. And so it was a good laugh, and it was really surreal for her, because she's like, I've never met anybody that's basically a stranger who has watched that video, you know, that's not like a friend, or that she told about the video. And so that was really, really cool. It's like, oh my God, how is this? You know, this is like the theme of my channel or at least my welcome message on my channel, which, you know, there's 8 billion of us. And so what's more unique than us as individuals? So there's 2 of us out of 8 billion who watched a video, who created a video and had the experience, and then me, who watched the video randomly, found it through YouTube, the algorithm. Oh, speaking of the algorithm. Yep, there's the algorithm, since he invented the internet. But yeah, so that was really, really cool to have that experience, you know, because that's what really, again, what Oshkosh is about. And so that's what I would like to, you know, maybe, you know, end up doing with the D&D stuff. You know, oh, that was another thing. I didn't even mention it. You got to go check out the YouTube short that's on my channel where it talks about the D&D pilgrimage. So we went to Lake Geneva, Wisconsin on the way up there, which is where Gary Gygax and his friends created Dungeons and Dragons down in the basement at the house at 330 Center Street in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. So I got to see the house, take pictures and selfies with it. And then there's a little memorial to Gary Gygax down at the city park down on the lake, and where you're supposed to bring dice. So I brought my fan roll dice, my wooden set, and I shit you not. I videotaped it. I made a YouTube shorts out of it. I rolled all the dice to have Gary bless my dice on his little memorial, and the D20 rolled a 20, a nat 20. First roll, it was amazing. So my dice that I've got now over here on my shelf, they've been blessed by Gary Gygax. That was right there. It was amazing. And so yeah, I definitely made a YouTube shorts on that. So that was cool. So, but yeah, whether it's our, you know, the D&D stuff, whether it be the flight sim, because, you know, I could have other people flying with me here. That's why I post down in the description for all of my Unusual Attitude podcasts. I post the flight path and the altitude and which plane I'm flying in case anybody wants to come fly along, because, you know, like right now we're letting Otto control us here, and so Otto, our, you know, German co-pilot, and so it'd be really easy for somebody to fly in formation if they wanted to follow along in Microsoft Flight Simulator in their own airplane. So the whole community stuff and the relationships and meeting people, that was a lot of fun, and I would like to do more of that and try to get more people maybe in, you know, group flights here in Unusual Attitude. I'm working on a new D&D server that'll be open to the public to really what I call mini shots, which are very, very small adventures where we can play D&D play by a post on Discord. And then, of course, the redo of my YouTube channel with now these, you know, 4 real big playlists, which will be Unusual Attitude, the live streams like what's going on right now, to my Microsoft Flight Sim shorts, now the travel shorts, and then weight loss shorts. So that is what's coming in the future here on the Uncle Mike channel, as now we are flying over Andros Island, and Otto, our German co-pilot, should be making a left turn here at any time to head out over the water here to go to Nassau. And there we go. So with that, let's go ahead and jump back into regular mode here. Let's go ahead and also jump into the cockpit. Let's go ahead and turn off the noise canceling. There we go. Noise canceling's coming up. And so now straight out there out the windshield, that is Nassau, Bahamas. So we got probably about another about 15 minutes or so as we are taking the Cessna Chancellor 414 from North Perry in Florida down to Nassau, the Bahamas, creating a route that was done by the Fire Pilot. And again, you can go see link to his channel down below, who I met in real life at EAA AirVenture Oshkosh 2023. Look at the scenery. It is beautiful water down here in the Bahamas. So we're going to be doing the visual approach into 10. So we're gonna go ahead and start stepping down our altitude here. So let's go ahead and jump back in the cockpit. And so let me go ahead, I'm gonna go ahead, we are stealth. So I'm gonna go ahead and come back to 3,000. We're gonna descend down to 1,500. We're gonna pretend like we are drug running. All right, so there we go. Everything is armed. Let's go ahead and start our descent. We got a nice descent. I'm gonna go ahead and come back off the power. Go into a nice fast descent. Here we go. Bombs away to Nassau, Bahamas. You are correct about that. Go ahead, like I said, go ahead and get our descent, come back on the power. There we go. Get a nice fast descent here. Doing a 200 knot descent. Yeah, so we only got 7 minutes before we get to, then we go ahead and come back on the descent, come back on the power so we don't overspeed or anything like that. And there we go. As we are now got Nassau in the sights right in front of us here. Come back here to where Char of Heart is sitting, sipping her cocktails as Uncle Mike is taking her to Nassau, the Bahamas. Look at that view. Look at that view right there. I think that's almost worthy right there of a screenshot. I'm going to take a screenshot. Maybe I'll post something on X, since Twitter's now called X. I probably won't be using Twitter much anymore. Not that I, it's some anti-thing or, anti-Elon or anything like that. It's just that I really want to focus on putting all my content in one platform. And now that I got the community tab and all that, I can basically, it's kind of like my, Facebook, Twitter on the community tab on YouTube. So I'm just going to be focusing more on that. Found out from my phone I can take a picture and I can post a picture on the community tab on my YouTube channel. So I'll still use Twitter and I'll look at it and people contact me and all that. Wonderful. But yeah, it's not going to be like a main focus here anymore. So all right, so here is the Chancellor. Look at that. That's just a beautiful number 414 X-ray. I just think it's just a very well done airplane. It has this mix of complexity with the old steam gauges, with the modern avionics, the old weather radar. It just has an excellent combination. So yeah, you thinking the same thing, Chara Hart? Yeah, I got you. And so yeah, I'm gonna say it's the best airplane in Microsoft Flight Simulator, this run right here. And of course, this is on the Xbox Series X. You get more functionality, more avionics setups that you can do, more even modern avionics equipment that you can choose from on the PC version. But it just flies really well, it lands really well, it sounds, even as Charles Hart, as you said, it just sounds really good. The engines sound good. So yeah, if you're interested in a payware and especially a little bit heavier twin with some complexity and a little thing different than just the modern glass cockpit, pick yourself up the Fly Simware here, Cessna 414 Chancellor. It's amazing. So yeah, we are down, just descending down. Everything is looking good in the neighborhood. Right off the nose there is Nassau. Almost right off the nose is the runway we're going to land on, because we're going to land on runway 10. So it's almost a straight in approach here as we are descending down into Nassau, Bahamas. I'm just taking a look around. Usually I wouldn't do a flight like this over water. There's not a lot to see. There's not a lot of topography, not a lot to look at. But again, it was just so fun to meet in real life pilot tubers, and especially the fire pilot. Him and his wife were very gracious and very nice to me. It wasn't just like that warning is just we got 1,000 feet to go. We're at 2,500 going to 1,500 feet. But they were just very gracious, just kind of talked to me. They're from Kentucky, so I think they're just good old Southern people. And so they really talked to me when I told them about what I do. Like, he said, oh man, you need to recreate my flights over the Bahamas, because they fly a Cessna 310, and we have a Cessna 310 in flight sim, and it's probably the number 2 airplane. It'll probably be the number 2 airplane in flight sim. So, but I just like this one so much more. So, oh yeah, it's just beautiful with the coral, and then of course, you know, with flight sim here doing this, you know, they've really made it uses big maps, Microsoft Flight Simulator, and so it just really, you know, turns out real nice. We got nice weather here. Of course, we got, looks like the sun is behind some clouds here somewhere, maybe up above us here. Looks like. So we got some shadow here, but it looks like Nassau. So the approach to Nassau is going to be, looks like it might be fairly colorful. So all right, let's go ahead and get in the airplane here, and let's put on our. Yeah, it's almost a straight in approach. I can see runway 10 there. Let's see if we can set up the visual here. So let's do procedure, select an approach. Do we have a visual listed? No, we don't. Do we have, what do we have for, we have VOR DME, we got RNAV. So we don't have a visual in the computer. So we are gonna go ahead and just so I'm gonna go ahead and come have auto offset us here. Get lined up for runway 10 because I already have runway in sight. Now this is the 414 Alpha, and so it's basically got like the Cessna Citation jet landing gear, so you can drop them like below 177 knots, which basically acts as a speed brake for you and all of that. So all right, let's take a look here, see what we've got. Yep, we're passing the runway, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn the autopilot off my airplane. I'm gonna go ahead and drop the gear. The gear's coming down. And as Blanco Lirio would say, trim, 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 trim. Let's go ahead and get stabilized here in this new flight configuration with the gear down. I'm gonna go ahead and move my seat forward and up a little bit so we have a nice view over the nose for our visual approach here into Nassau, Bahamas, runway 10. And I am on the sticks here. Looking good. I'll go ahead and work on stabilizing the approach. First notch of flaps coming in. It's going to slow us down. Add a little bit of power here. Looking good. With those flaps down, got to retrim. Look at that beautiful water. Look at this beautiful water we're going over. Oh, wow. That is amazing. All right, nice steady approach here. We are in a stable approach. Look at that water. That right there is amazing. All right, next notch of flaps coming in. Adding some power. And above, just right at blue line there on the old airspeed indicator. And gonna go ahead and go full pitch on the props for the go around if we need it, but look, right now we're a nice and stable approach. Very cool. I don't want to be back. I don't want to spill any of Char Hart's drinks back here. Looking good on the approach. I like everything that I see. Everything is looking good. All right, so gear is down, undercarriage, or gas is good, undercarriage, mixture, props full forward, seats and seat belts and switches. Everything's looking good. Runway in sight. Go ahead, continuing. Everything's looking good. Gonna do a little bit of a long landing to where we're gonna taxi to is way at the end. All right, decision height continuing. Everything's looking good. Woo, yeah, this is golden right here. Fly nice. They're watching you. All right, like I said, landing a little long here, so we don't have such a long taxi. Don't want to spill her drinks back there. No spilly. Oh yeah, come on. Oh, ho, ho, welcome to Nassau, Bahamas. Whoop whoop. All right, start tapping the brakes. Slow down. Let's go get the outside view. We're gonna taxi over there to the right. Just tapping the brakes. Get a nice slow down here. It's not really a high-speed taxiway, but it's off at an angle, so we can kind of use it as a high-speed taxiway. There we go. Yeah, beautiful right there. So we're gonna do taxi. I think this is actually where Fire Pilot even went to. I think it's called Odyssey or something. I think. Maybe not. Maybe I'm going the wrong place. But we just need to go somewhere to end our flight here. So, all right. Flaps coming up. Hey, Char Hart, you have an amazing thumbs up because you are amazing. You have a great week too, because I'm back at work tomorrow from my vacation. So, oh yeah, check this out. This is awesome looking. Look at all the jets parked and all this. That's cool. Yeah. We're not a jet, but I slept at a Holiday Inn, so I play one on TV. Where we're gonna go over here. Park next to this jet. Show them how awesome November 414 X-ray is. Yeah, boy. And there we go. Woo woo! Man, that was amazing. Well, that concludes our flight here tonight for episode 6 of Unusual Attitude, my EAA AirVenture Oshkosh 2023 debrief. Thank you so much for joining me here on this flight from Florida down to the Bahamas in the Chancellor 414 and Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 on the Xbox Series X. Click that like button if you do. Subscribe if you haven't. Comment, share. Come join me in chat in a future live stream because I'm your favorite YouTuber's favorite uncle. I am Uncle Mike. Bye, everybody. See you next time. Whoop whoop. Oh, that was a great flight. Chara Hart was great. Nice to have her as a passenger chatting with me on the flight. Oh, yeah. Now we got to think about what's coming up in episode 7.